Yeah, so check this out, right? So today, or earlier this morning, my assistant forwarded a question over to me that was sent into the Sadulu House. I think it was the Facebook page, right? And the question that came in, there was a post that I put up a while ago, and I said something to the effect like, people confuse priests and healers. Peace. People confuse priests and healers with salesmen and saleswomen, right? And then I said something like it's sickening. It turns my stomach, something like that. So someone had peace, Brother Byron. Someone had put a question in. I think they sent it to the inbox. I don't know, but she forwarded it over to me. And the question was, Baba, how do we tell who the phonies are? How do we tell who the fakes are, right? Which I thought was a great question because it was so simple, and it was like, but no one has really asked it. Sometimes we do segments or whatever, and we comment on, people who are being deceptive in the traditions and people who are, have ulterior motives and stuff like that. But sometimes we speak about the actions, but we don't always speak about how you actually identify one of those individuals, right? So here's the first thing. I'm gonna keep it real simple because I'm actually out doing things, but I wanted to just speak on it briefly. And the first thing is this: a person who's coming and they're false. Let's say a false prophet or a false teacher, fake teacher, fraud, whatever name we want to ascribe to it. I don't know. Peace, Alicia. Peace, Nicole. The first thing that they always do is they start you off with a victimization. I'll deal with that later. They start you off with a victimization story, right? So the first thing they do is they'll come in and they'll tell you about how they have this big heart, and their big heart has caused them to give so much in life and do so much for so many people, and essentially they get done dirty every time and they get backstabbed and stabbed in the heart. So essentially what they begin, they start to exchange off with their own, they start to exchange off with their own victim story that now puts you in a position where you could never imagine them as the perpetrator, but you immediately imagine them as someone who's just out here being earnest, trying to do the good work, and is being victimized. All right, that's where peace, freedom. That's where everything always begins with a fake teacher or fraud or whatever. It always starts with them coming at you with their victim story. The other thing too, and I'm like hitting on these briefly. Maybe I'll do like a full joint, a full segment of it. But the other thing is like, they always come at you with information that never really allows you to surpass where they are. That's like one of the first signs of not just a fraud, but of a bad teacher, a poor teacher. As an instructor, as a teacher, what we're supposed to do, or what we're supposed to want, I should really say, you're supposed to want your students to surpass you. Come on with this. All right, getting notifications. I had to go with. But you're supposed to want your students to surpass you. That's supposed to be the ultimate goal, right? And so you're going to not only route to the thing that you have, but everything that you're learning, because you should still be learning if you're a real teacher, if you're a real instructor. You're still learning. You're still really just a student, and you're pouring out to your other students, at least those who show themselves to be humble and ready to receive, which is not everybody. But one of the signs that you're dealing with a fraud, to answer the brother's question, I can't remember his username right now. I'll pull it all up. But one of the things is that those teachers will never give you the gems, really. They'll never give you anything that's going to cause you to surpass them. Okay, that's like number two. The other thing is, a lot of times they keep you in this place of perpetual, we say master student, but we could also say master slave, right? They keep you in that perpetual position because you gotta understand. For those of you who don't understand, teaching is like it's like being a parent, and your students are like your children, right? So what that essentially means is that all children come to an age and a place where they resent the authority of their parents. That's just normal, man. Like, sometimes it's the teenage years, sometimes it's a little bit after that, but they all come to the point where they hate you and you hate them. And you don't stop hating each other until they get out and get on their own and they come under their own authority and rule. It's just the way it is, right? So, yeah, y'all look behind me. Alright? But, so anyway, right? So they get to that point where they don't want your authority anymore. They don't even want your lessons anymore. They don't want your rule. And they begin to resent what it is that you've established in them, right? So the same thing happens with a teacher-student relationship. Students get to the point where they resent having to do what you tell them they should do or do it the way that you tell them that they should do it. And that's perfectly fine. That's when it's time for them to go and move on. But when you have like the person was asking, how do we identify frauds? When you have like a fraud or a fake teacher or a fake instructor, they constantly suppress that moment. Or what they do is they don't even give you enough instruction or guidance for you to ever get to the point to resent them. They're like a non-parenting parent. They don't present any real authority, anything like that, or any real guidance or instruction. And everything that you want to intuit, they say, yeah, sure. They speak in language like, they tell you like, they get downloads or they had dreams or they had visions. And everything that they're presenting to you in terms of information is coming from the perspective of these very personal divine experiences that they're having that you could possibly never have. And when you do have them, well, actually you would never really have it, because when you're dealing with a fake teacher, they're not going to lead you to any authentic thing. So you might have a feeling that you go through where you think you're communicating with an energy and whatnot, and then you'll come with some theory, and they'll never really expose the flaws in your theories. Let's see, lights. They'll never really expose the flaws in your theories because, of course, they don't want to lose your support, for whatever it is. And there's more to it than that, man. I'm just kind of hitting it briefly, man. Like I said, I was making some running, and I had a moment I had to sit still. So I said, while I'm sitting still, I'll discuss this whole, how do you expose a fraud, man? But like I said, the first thing you'll know is that a fraud always comes to you with a victim story every single time. They were victimized by their teacher. They were victimized by their student. And in doing that, it's just like a molester. In doing that, they create an environment and an atmosphere of obligation. So you feel obligated to stay with them. They'll say, yeah, I had a lot of students, but, I taught them things and they just went on to leave and not really necessarily give me credit or owing me money and this and that, So they kind of create that climate already that precipitates you having a certain unhealthy codependency with them, and an unhealthy obligation. First sign of a fake teacher. First sign of a fraud, man. Because if your teaching is so on point and you're so correct, number one, you're going to maintain the protocol that has to exist between you and your student. And if we're talking about spirituality and cultural things and mysticism, if you're that on point, you shouldn't be so easily victimized, especially by a student. Nor should you have... Just letting that truck drive by. I don't be sitting here hollering into my phone. But also, nor should you have that level of obligation as it pertains to your student, where it's like they victimize you because you have all these expectations and things like that for them. As a teacher, you really are a son of a universe. Peace, Zach. Peace, Anwar. And as a son of a universe, you stand on your own too. You really don't need anyone. You don't need a student or anyone like that to validate you as a teacher, because you're going to teach whether there's 13 people on the live or whether there's no people on the live. you're going to always be kind of pouring out because you need to for your own sanity. When you're a teacher, you do get quote unquote downloads, if you will, but it's the amount of studying research that you put into whatever system or whatever ideology that you're learning. That's another thing, man. Fake teachers never promote philosophy. You know, the ultimate point of philosophy, just meaning the love of wisdom. You know, sophos, wisdom, phileo or philo, meaning love. But philosophy being that love of wisdom, what it kind of motivates the student to do is it motivates the student to ask questions. That's the ultimate point of philosophy, is to just ask questions. See, like, philosophy creates personal spiritual expression, you know, where now your religion goes beyond just some ideas, because religions are created by ideas. That's how you create a religion. It's just ideas that people have. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. Just a bunch of ideas. What's up, Poppy? You know, nothing more, nothing less. And philosophy, or the questions that come from philosophy, what philosophy creates, all right, is a spiritual understanding, right? So when you have a fake teacher, they're never ever going to promote a philosophy. If they do, they're going to give you the absolutes of that philosophy. Like, they're going to tell you their philosophy, and they're going to say, like, and it is what it is, you know, and this is what it is. But they're never going to teach you to ask questions, because the way true teachers really teach is they teach in a way where they're encouraging you to question the ideas that they're presenting to you. And when you do that, more notifications. But anyway, and when you do that, you create your own spiritual relationship with whatever it is that you're studying, whether it be nature or whatever. And for the most part, a real teacher is always gonna teach you things according to the laws of nature. And some people will call those laws of nature Orisha or God or angels or whatever, you know, whatever fly thing we come up with for the century. But ultimately, they're going to cause you to have a more impacting relationship with nature, and to develop more profound questions as it relates to nature, man. So, I mean, it's a bunch of things. It's a bunch, you know, I mean, also it's energy, man. You know, I could tell a phony a mile away. You know, I tell a phony, it's by the way they move, you know. I know I'm from an older generation, man. That older generation is like, peace, Shakira. The older generation is like, you know, we were more organic, I would say. Now everything is very digital, so it's very two-dimensional. You know, you say something and it's got to be taken for face value, but the truth is, like, you got to learn to feel energy too. You know, if someone is saying that they're a master teacher, first of all, even terms like that are kind of stupid. Master teacher, like, then you're done. Go die. Go somewhere and die. You've mastered this. You've mastered the art of life. Then die. You're done. Congratulations. You know, it's like when you work those slick jobs and they fire you, and you don't even know you fired. You know, they tell you, well, you know, you've done a great job, and you know, you've gotten us to this point, and you know, we're ready to go in a new direction thanks to the work that you've put in. And you walk out the building. She making that dough. She getting that bag. I'm gonna give her privacy. You walk out the building not even know you got fired. Like, yeah, I got him to the next step. Walking out with your stuff in your arms, and until you get home and you tell your mate what happened, and like, you got fired, dummy. You know. But I don't even remember. I don't remember my original point was, but I made a point. I don't remember what it was, but I made one. But so yeah, man, a lot of times, like with false teachers, they will give you philosophy. They won't give you philosophy. They won't give you an understanding where you can ask questions, you can challenge the ideas in a way. They won't give you a forum for that. Like I said, they always have a victim story, and of course their part in it is always just being too accepting, being too loving, having too big of a heart, you know, always that BS. What else? Oh, energy is what I was building on. Oh, yeah. Basically, I mean, I don't know. That's an easy one to me. Like, I don't. Honestly, that kind of disappoints me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. That disappoints me about the learning community. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Um, the inability that the learning community that has to see a fraud it really disturbs me. You know, I mean, there was a time when like you knew someone was acting when they were playing, and like now it's like people can't see it at all. People come to you and tell you any kind of lie, and the thing is, their lies are always based on an old paradigm. You know what I mean? The old paradigm was to keep someone your student forever, to keep someone your slave forever. But collectively, humanity has matured. Just like that teenage child who doesn't want to listen to you anymore. So if you're really a teacher in this day and time, you're going to be in tune with the idea of humanity, right? And if you're in tune with the idea that humanity has grown, then your teaching is going to reflect that ideology. You know, you can't still teach people in a way where you hold them captive to these imaginary jewels that you say you're going to give them one day, and which you probably never do, right? So that's part of recognizing the energy. But like I said, the energy part is so different. It's so easy to kind of recognize that it's like, I don't know, man, I don't even like talking on that too much, because, you know, if you're following someone who's a phony, who's a fraud, then ultimately it's because they identify you. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted for a second. Ultimately, you identify the fraud, and you identify fraud in them. Essentially, that's essentially what I was saying. So, yeah, the energy thing, man, it's kind of simple nowadays, man. Like, somebody jump in front of you and they say they're this big time warrior, but they have no real war legacy. They're not that. Like, I don't know. It's kind of simple, you know. Another thing you see with the frauds is that they love to ramble. You know, like you ask them a direct question and they have to build up to the answer. And you know why? Because they're BSing. They're BS artists. You know, so you'll be like, so you might ask a question like, okay, so why in some traditions the sun is signified as female, and in other traditions the sun is signified by male? Now, let me give a fake teacher answer. Fake teacher answer would be like, well, the reality is that duality exists in everybody, and if you think about it, I mean, just like your mother gives you light and gives you instruction, your father could give you light and give you instruction. So the truth is, you know, people in different places in the world, they are going to have a different understanding. You see, like, just rambling, not really saying anything. And you always got people who are unstudied who be like, that was deep. And sometimes it's because they like the person. They're not even paying attention to the teachings. Maybe the person looks cute to them, or, you know, they got a nice body, or, you know, whatever it is. Or they just like their energy. You know, they jock rotted. You know, so sometimes it's stuff like that, man, and that's like a typical kind of answer. You know, what can I do for protection? Fake teacher will tell you, oh, well, obsidian is a good crystal for protection because it soaks up the energy of the environment, and the negative comes your way. See, a real teacher would be like, protection from what? See, just like a real teacher is going to encourage you to question, a real teacher is going to question you. They're going to question your philosophy about the terms that you're using, right? So they're going to say, protection from what? Well, I don't know, just people, just energy, whatever. Well, are you walking through the world scared? Why are you so afraid if you have all of this spiritual understanding, right? And I know you're probably like, oh, you talking about being afraid and you looking around every 3 seconds. Yeah, because that's what I do. People who know that about me. I look around all the time. You know, I'm slightly paranoid / very defensively aware. That's just my energy. But yeah, man. So, like I said, they'll answer questions with rambling and build up to an answer. Nothing is ever like straightforward in a straight line. It's always building up to some answer that's kind of vague, but they try to woo you with their answers. You know, they try to give you the type of answer that feels and sounds good. Peace reflections, Chief. All right, hey, Ken 171. They try to give you the type of answer that sounds good, but you know doesn't necessarily hit the mark. But by the time you're done listening to them, you forget what the mark was, right? I mean, it's kind of basic stuff. If you spend a good amount of time studying a system, and I say at least 8 years, I'm gonna keep it, you know, pretty honest with you. You know, 8 years studying what it is that you decide you want to talk about, at minimal, then it becomes a lot easier to identify false teaching. You know, because, you know, Forbes, hey, I need to talk to you about something. I just remembered. I need to email you. You got on tapered sweatpants. All that tough talk. But anyway, so yeah, man, the reality is when you're, peace, Deidre. So a lot, I don't even know my point, man. But I know I made a point again. I know I did. I don't remember what the first point was, but I made it. So yeah, man, a lot of times they just give you weak answers. And if you haven't studied in the system for a good while, you don't know a weak answer from somebody hyping you up. Like you don't know preaching from teaching. And a lot of fake teachers that, you know, they have a lot of charisma, and you know, sometimes people don't understand that charisma is not synonymous with excitability. You don't have to be an excited or amped up or turned up person to have a lot of charisma or to transfer a lot of charisma. You know, so it's like false charisma. You know, it's false excitement. You know, your charisma should really come through the living truth that's inside of you. You know, that's what really makes a person, or it should make a person, charismatic. But sometimes that living truth, you know, and I say living truth because it evolves, it changes, it morphs, it moves around. And, you know, so you might have a teacher that says, listen, I said this last year, but I'm saying this year, because the truth is living inside of them. They're not just going to say, you know, the Most High revealed something new to me. No, the Most High revealed nothing new to you, Jack. Like, you still learning, you're a student. You know, and that's why maybe you shouldn't be teaching. You're still working out your theorem, but sometimes people come into these understandings and they realize, like, oh, I can make money doing this. You know, I can make money doing this too. So they become teachers, or they become gurus, or healers, or readers, and they're not any of that. I'm gonna tell you a good sign too. A good sign is also, man, I'm off point today, man. I need some lychee. Yeah, man, I need some lychee fruit. I'm forgetting. Oh, here it is. Family, right? That's because I'm in a hyper-stimulated environment with a lot of people who are stimulated right now. But family, right? Because family is a form of stability. You find out a lot of phony people can't maintain a family because, you know, they can't have people get too close to them, because once they get too close, they find out what the truth really is, and they got to run or they got to push them away, right? And then, of course, all that does is cat again. All that does is become a part of their victim story, right? I had a family, I lost my family, whatever it is, right? But it just becomes a part of their victim story. So, you know, you want to look for stability in their life, man. Like, are they jumping from sofa to sofa, from apartment to apartment, or from country to country, you know, things like that. And not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with being nomadic, but are they consistently nomadic in terms of that's their actual culture, or are they unable to just kind of like hold the situation down? Are they unable to hold the family down? You know, things like that. Family is a lot of times the number one indicator if you're dealing with a false prophet or not. Now, of course, their mate could be a phony too. So you always have a situation too where they end on the jokes together, you know. But again, you got to go by energy, man. Look at how a person moves, man, if they're shifty. All you guys who study my stuff, you know that I'm big on physiognomy. If you got weasel eyes, your eyes all pinched in together, coming in at the point, you're a weasel. I don't care. Like, I don't say what you want. Physiognomy never fails me. And you guys know some of the stuff I study and teach is real deep and it's real complicated and stuff like that. And with all that deep, complicated stuff that I teach, and obviously what I'm teaching you is at a lower level than what I actually study myself. With all that deep stuff, I rely on the physiognomy more than anything. What's on the inside will always express itself to the outside. You can't get around it. What's on the inside will always express itself to the outside, man. From your eyes, your nose, your teeth, your lips, your hands. I look at hands a lot. Eyes tell you a lot. You know what I mean? Teeth tell you even more. You know what I'm saying? But pay attention to that physiognomy, man. And you got to keep a clean gut. Keep your gut detoxed. Keep your core strong. And that way, when you have that gut feeling, you know that it's not just parasites, manipulating what you're feeling because they want you to eat some sugar. So when you want that sugar, then you start getting those hankerings for love and affection and things like that. So next thing you know, you want some potato chips and some French fries and things like that. And then you also want comfort experiences. So you'll want teachers and leaders who kind of coddle and comfort you, because those are the parasites calling for sugar in your system. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful with stuff like that. But yeah, man. So this is a lot of signs of fake leadership, man. And I'm not even like scratching the surface. I'm just kind of doing a little quick little drive by. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, fake leadership, like I said, I don't remember all the points I made, but number one, victim story. When they come to you with that victim story, like, yeah, I did this for this person, I did that for that person, they did me dirty, and that's your first sign something's off. Also, here's another. I was about to give you the list, but here's another one. When they can never genuinely be happy for another person. Like, you'll never really hear them celebrate another person's achievements or accomplishments, especially if that other person's achievements step outside of what that supposed teacher or leader is presenting and teaching, right? So when those accomplishments step outside of that, when you notice like they tense up or they get real quiet or whatever, or you find that they only compliment people who unilaterally, live a certain kind of lifestyle, so they compliment. Oh, the sound is muffled? That's because my finger's over the thing again. My bad. Sorry about that. Yeah, they only compliment people based on the gender, or based on their spiritual connections, things like that, or based on age, So their compliments are always based around, a specific set of criteria, and even that, so basically when they're complimenting somebody, it still works in their favor, but you never find them like really genuinely happy for people, because a false leader needs the community more than the community needs them, so they're always afraid to exalt someone beyond them. They're always afraid to teach someone beyond them. And and then eventually you'll find that one thing about fake teachers is that they always run out of stuff to talk about. Yes, I'm on the bike, Anwar. And the reason that they run out of stuff to talk about is because they don't train their students to push beyond them, right? So let's say like even in the martial arts, right? I've always trained my students, and I was fortunate to have some instructors, that were very giving. Not all, I have to be honest. Some were, withholding the gems. But I know for me, I always would get on the mat, grapple with my students. I'd spar with my students, thump. The bigger the better, because I'm gonna give you my tricks. If you're humble, I'm gonna give you what I know, and then you're gonna come back and you're gonna be pushing me back. You're gonna get that punch through next time. Next, you might punch me in the face, or you might kick me in the stomach, and now it causes me to raise my game up, you know. And then there'll come a point where I just won't be able to beat my students. You know, like there was people in Bruce Lee's class that was throwing them around. Everybody thinks Bruce Lee is the is the epitome, you know, but there was people who was throwing him all over the place, right? You know, but that's how it is. You want your students to basically be able to manhandle you at some point. So even like my students in spirituality or culture or, you know, whatever subject I'm on at the time, at some point I want them to be able to handle me. You know, learn Yoruba better than I know it. You know, learn these other systems, these other languages, metaphysics, occultism, astronomy, astrology, you know, physics, all the things that I present, learn it better than I did. So I'm going to give you everything so that you can surpass me, because then once you surpass me, I'm going to come back and spar you. You know, now we're gonna have beautiful and powerful debates, you know, and you ready with pen and paper? I'm getting ready to get on. This ain't one of them type of classes, sis. But yeah, man. So you want to teach your students beyond you, man. And the thing, like I said, if you're a bona fide teacher, then essentially what's going to happen is, as a bona fide teacher, you know, you're still growing and expanding at the same time. So it's all good, man. But that's one of the signs of a false teacher. They're never going to teach you beyond them. And then a lot of times they don't have anything to teach you anyway. But so as a result, you'll find that, give them a couple years, and you'll find that their messages become very repetitive. They become very repetitive. You know, because all they got to do is always pretend like there's some secret gem somewhere, like, yo, you would be able to get this, but you don't have the proper initiation. Let me tell you something. Any group or organization that you have to initiate to be a part of is something that you don't want to be in. I know that may hurt some feelings, you know what I mean? But if I got to initiate to be a part of your community, your learning community, whatever, it's trash. It's trash. You know. And I'm telling you this as someone who is initiated, you know, and you can take my word for it, and you could, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, whatever, you know, it is what it is. I don't care, you know. I halfway care if my own children take on everything I'm saying. So I sure as heck don't care if, you know, students do. I just say it, I share it, I share what I'm led to share, and then what you get is what you get. And let me tell you something, 9 times out of 10, what people get will be stuff that I maybe didn't even put a lot of emphasis on. I get so many calls sometimes and whatnot, and people are like, you know, when you said this, or even sometimes on Instagram, I like people will put like, you know, little memes up of things that I've said, or like screenshots, and I'll read it and be like, huh, yeah, I did say that, you know. But it's like, it may not be the thing that I thought was so profound or so poignant, but it was what that person needed, man. So you just give, man. And if you treat people like the universe treats you, or the Akashic energy treats you, then your quickening to that energy will be so much more easier. You know, like, there's nothing right now that the universe is not going to give to me, like in terms of knowledge or wisdom. It's obligated to give its wisdom to me. So why would I be the bottleneck? Why would, as soon as I come into a human form, I say, all right, now the buck stops here, the knowledge stops here? No, that's stupid. You know, if the universe gives it, you give it. But that's if you plugged in. False teachers is like what we're talking about. They're not plugged in. They're not plugged in at all. They have to wait for somebody to give new information. And that's why I said they're always a couple of steps behind. False teachers still teach in the form that you need them as leaders. You don't need leaders anymore. I've been saying that for years. Nobody believes me. You don't need leaders. We've graduated that dispensation. You know, that's why your politicians are not getting any more honest. Your spiritual leaders are not getting any wiser. You know, your artists are not getting any more creative. I mean, we can just go down the list. Because that leadership and new leaders are not being born like yesteryear, because you don't need them anymore. Now it's about you creating a living relationship, because the world is so big now. And at the same time, it's so small now. Right? So you have so much access to so much now. It's different. It's not like years past where the world was very small and at the same time it was very big, and that it was hard to traverse it. You know, it was hard to find out information from the other side of the world. That's not the case anymore. You know, now the world is huge. It's huge. The new world that's opened up for us, man, huge. The new information that's available, oh my goodness, like, shoo. I smile thinking about it. Like, I'm genuinely like, man, it could almost bring a tear to my eye, but if I feel I'm gonna click this end button faster than shit, I got fast fingers. But it's a beautiful time, man. Like, the information and things that we have access to and the intelligence that we've grown into through our ancestral evolution, oh man, it's awesome. And it's small because it's so easy to access, man. It's not even about the internet. It's not even about that. If you think that's where I'm going to go, it's about the library. It's about the encyclopedia sets and dictionaries, and you know what I'm saying? Like, we could come up on some information real quick. You know, so, you know, can I speak on the path of Eshu Ayintolu? Nope, I'm not speaking on that. Nope. You know, sometimes I feel like giving out a lot of free game, and sometimes I don't. Because that free game is what messes most of y'all up. You know, like, go get it yourself. Go earn it yourself. You get it too easy and you don't respect it. You know, and when I give it too easy, you don't respect me. I give you what I feel like giving you when I feel like giving it. If I feel like answering a question, I do. If I don't, I don't. Why? Because I'm not a fake teacher. I'm not trying to pull everybody in. I'm not trying to satisfy everybody and appease everybody. You know, ride with me or don't. You know, and I'm not saying that you said I've researched it and can't find it. BS. That's bullshit. What's your name here? I Dream of Nails. Wait, aren't you the one who contacted me, I Dream of Nails? And you started asking all these questions, and then when I told you to get a reading, you then turned around and said, why would I pay you for something that I can tell myself? Is that you? Because I didn't say anything about you saying something so rude to me. I just got quiet and got off, you know, and stopped DMing. I don't know if that's you, but I think it was. I know the person has something to do with nails. No, sir. All right. Yeah, I gotta look at my inbox. I don't delete stuff. I probably screenshotted it, but you researched it and can't find it. Well, whoever gave you that information, go back and talk to them. Night of the Living Baseheads. But yeah, man, go back and talk to them. Don't just be asking random questions like that on the internet, because you're going to get random information. I'm telling you, you're going to get random information. And then you're going to be even more confused. Also, everything I found is in Spanish. That already tells me that you're not researching. If you tell them everything that you found on Eshu is in that particular path of Eshu is in Spanish, I already know you ain't been researching. You know, most thing I could tell you is, you know, stick around, listen to my segments, join my class. But all that, you know, Chief, what about this? Chief, what about that? Chief, F that. That's what's got some of y'all messed up now. That's one of the reasons I stopped taking live calls on my show. You got to earn this, man. And if you don't earn it, easy come, easy go. When you earn it, it soaks into your blood, man. And some of y'all don't want it to soak into your blood. You don't want the tattoo of wisdom. You know, you want some henna tattoos or some quick information and some facts, and you're not even going to verify them, and you don't want to be accountable for your journey. I'm not talking about you, I Dream of Nails, just so you know. I'm not getting on you. I'm talking in general, all right? Because I don't even know you, so just so you know. But I'm giving you some real advice. Don't ask anybody else about that. Don't ask anybody else about that. You're asking a question about something that's in the Yoruba language, so go learn something about the Yoruba language. That's where you start. You got a name, find out what the name means. That's where you start. And Google has a translator. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that that hard anymore, man. Now I can tell you, I know that path, which actually you're typing wrong, but I ain't telling you nothing. I ain't telling you nothing. Stick around, soak it up, and you'll learn. But we got to stop doing that, man. What'd you say? All right, just so you know, I listen to you on YouTube a lot. Thanks anyway. And I don't even like that response. Thanks anyway. Whatever. Just so you know. Well, just so you know. Nah, I'm playing with you. But yeah, man, y'all got to get it a different way, man. Y'all got to get it a living. What are you learning at the moment that's inspiring you? That's what Forbes asked. That's a good question, man. What's some of my, well, actually, you know what, Forbes? I actually went back to some of my basics. So, like, for instance, like, I know this is going to seem unrelated, but it's not, I promise you. Some of my martial arts basics, I've gone back to basics. Some of the things that I learned years ago that, you know, because I'm older now, man. My body has changed, you know, and some of the things that I used to be able to do, I just can't do anymore, man. I can't kick my leg as high as I used to kick. I was always known for my kicks. My kicks were, like, ridiculously high, and they were shockingly high because I'm not a small person. So you don't usually see a big man who can kick, like, way over his head. I used to be able to put my back on the wall and then have my, you know, lift my foot up and let my foot touch the wall behind me. That ain't happening at this point. That ain't happening. I'll be lucky if I could kick a cat in the face. That's about how high my foot's coming up at this point. So going back to basics, I'm developing a new relationship with the things that I learned before that I was able to learn sloppily because I was so strong and I was so flexible and I had so much energy. And just going back and doing things really, really slow, you know, doing things slow, doing them forward, then doing them backwards, and most importantly, breathing. Like I've reinstituted a lot of my pranayama, you know, like just really working on my breathing again. And really reconnecting with myself as a weapon, you know. And I know it may not seem like that's spiritual information you wanted to hear, but it does relate to my spirituality. Trust me, it relates, because the same chi and all that energy that I had in the bottom of my gut when I was younger, because that's where it comes from. Really, all that energy, it comes from, like, right beneath your belly button. You know, that's really where you pull chi. It's like between your belly button and that top pelvic bone. I'm pointing like y'all can see, but that's where you pull your chi from, right? But when I was younger, I had so much chi built up all the time that when I would punch, boom, like, you know, I'd send people flying across the room and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm still really strong like that, but I don't want to use that. I want to use other things. So yeah, going back to basics, man. I'm actually relearning a lot of the things that I started with. I've been also dissecting Salat a lot more. You know, the Salat prayers and the movements, and really doing those and doing them really, really, really slow, making Salat really slow and really dissecting what each movement is. I mean, it's a lot, man. I'm always learning about 15 things at one time. But with everything that I'm learning right now, I'm just learning slow. So the science of doing things slow, breathing through it, being in tune with what the body wants while I'm doing what I'm doing is really what I'm connecting to now. Because that's, as my mind is growing, I want my body to grow, because everything grows at the same time. You know, so I want my emotions to mature, I want my body to mature, I want my mind to mature. And I'm just working on getting everything to work in coalition with each other, you know. And that's really that's what's inspiring me right now. You know, that's what, you know, is kind of giving me a new challenge. But I'm honestly, Forbes, I think that's who asked the question. I'm perpetually inspired, man. I you know, I'm always like, my task list is crazy. I always got a long task list of stuff that I want to do. You know, so yeah, but that's what I'm working on right now. As far as stuff I'm studying, I mean, I study a lot of stuff, man. So I can't even pinpoint that. I've been getting back into my metallurgy, so studying the different properties of metal. I've been studying the introduction of dogma into human consciousness. Been studying that pretty heavy. It's a lot of stuff, man. I don't know. It's a lot of stuff. I study a lot of things, man. But yeah, anyway. So like we was talking about the false teachers. That's basically it. Y'all want to join this live? Let me see. I bet you press that mistake. Some people want to join the live, but I don't know what that really. I don't know what that does. So we'll see. But yeah, man. So that's it is what it is, man. Teachers always got to stay learning, man. And no, I don't always teach things that I'm learning, because a lot of times, like, my job as a teacher is to show you the connecting points of what I'm teaching you. So this is related to that. That's related to that. If I say, okay, now do this, but if I say, like, we're talking about Salat, but I'm not a Muslim, so you might be like, well, why is he making Salat? Why is he doing this and doing that? Okay, is she there? I can't hear you. Oh, probably because hold on. Hold on. About now, I have my Bluetooth on. I don't know if I hung up on. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, man. My job as a teacher is to show the connecting points, and not necessarily to conflate your learning with all of my things, all of my ingredients, right? So what I've been studying in my martial arts, or what I've been studying in terms of metallurgy, those things will go into teachings. But by time I work them into teachings, a lot of work that goes into that. And by the time I give it to you in a teaching format, you might not even know where. I might say, well, yeah, this is that, and it won't mean anything to you. What means something is the effective aspect, you know. What's up, B? Was that a Puerto Rican? I don't know. I couldn't see. Yeah, it's starting to get weird out here. So, dude. All right, ain't nothing. This dude asking me is a Puerto Rican in the car, so now I'm gonna be party to his to his nonsense. But yeah, man. So the job of a teacher is to always be learning, always be upping your game, and get your students to the point where they could beat the crap out of you. And your children. You want them to be able to beat the crap out of you. And I'm talking about mentally, spiritually, physically, like, because there'll come a time where my mind is just not going to be that sharp. You know what I mean? And or I'm not going to have the skills that I currently have right now. And that's fine. I'm look forward to embracing that day when it comes. But, before then, you got to definitely give up the jewels, man. So, I said some things in the beginning of the live where I broke down what makes, how do you define a fake teacher and whatnot like that. And you can go back and look at that. And maybe I'll do a segment on it. But the reason I haven't all the time, like the brother asked on my Sadula House thing, but the reason I haven't really done a segment on that, because to keep it real, is one of the things that really disgusts me, false teachers. And I didn't want to turn it into a rant. And if I started talking about fake teachers, I could see myself ranting more than teaching. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it a personal thing like that. So that was the main reason why I never really did that segment, on false teachers, because the things that I teach, it can't be about my own personal feelings about anything. I mean, theoretically, no one should be coming under a false teacher, but me personally, I have a big disdain for people who recklessly lead people astray just because they want some fortune or some fame or some notoriety. Like, I'm like, line them up, put the blindfolds on them and line them up, because we don't have at this stage in the human development, we don't really have the luxury to be bamboozled. We don't have that luxury, man. So when people come along 10%ers come along, I'm just like off with their heads, man. You know, so I never really wanted to do a show on it because I didn't want to get so personal, man. But yeah, so that's that with that, man. You know, this live. I'm gonna get ready to go finish handling my handle. All right. And willfully you all will continue to enjoy your day. You know what I mean? And make the best of it. And I forget the brother's name, man. But I'll probably put this session on YouTube or something if Instagram saves it for me, because my lives don't never get saved, ever. So if Instagram saves it, then I'll put it on YouTube and then I'll forward it to the brother who asked the question, how do you identify it for me? All right? Everyone be cool. I'm out. How do you end this thing? I forget. There we go. Peace.